Okay.
Hey there, everybody. Good afternoon. I'm Elizabeth Myers here again with Every Voice Matters, and I have my friend Wakita on with me today, and she's going to share with us. I appreciate you guys for listening. So, Wakita, do you just want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, of course. I'm located here in good old state of North Carolina. I'm a spouse of a retired military member, and I have two college age students who currently live away from me in Arizona. So, of course, with our current situation, they're a big concern for me, not
Yeah.
being here with me.
Yeah.
We have the little app called 360. Do you know about that? Yeah, we have that, and so I'm able to keep track of them and things of that nature. My daughter brought up the other day because of the hangings that have been going on. She made a post about I would never hang myself. Um, if something like that were to happen to me, just please know that I did not. And she just mentioned that my mom basically sees everywhere that I go, and she was someplace the other night that I had no idea, and I'm texting, "Where are you?" Where are you at? I need to know exactly who you're with, or what have you. So it's just a unfortunately a everyday worry that we have.
And that's hard. And that's where my heart connects most, is just as a mother. Mothers are all the same. We all want the same thing.
Exactly.
And it's just, I there's a lot of things I worry about with my kids, but I don't have to worry about racism, and nobody should. And so that's part of why I'm doing what I'm doing. But you mentioned, we had a great conversation before we even hit live, so we're already ready to go. But you were mentioning about blatant racism that you had encountered. We were discussing of, like, why can't we be over this yet? So do you want to share about that?
Well, it was actually a few years back, and I was in Virginia. Was looking for a new car. Wanted a new car, and walked into this particular dealership. And my husband went in first, and he saw the vehicle. It was on the showroom floor, like brand spanking new. It was awesome. He was like, "That's the car for her." So he took me in, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I really like this car." Well, we're looking at the vehicle, and not a single person approached us to say, "Hey, not even how you're doing." Nothing. And so I'm really, I'm interested in this vehicle. I'm inside of it. I'm just looking, like, "Hey, I'm here."
Want to make a sale?
You want to make a sale, And again, no one came over, but I could see them talking, over in the corner or whatever. And so finally a guy came over, and, he briefly made conversation, and then he walked away. It's like, okay, whatever. So there was a guy, a black guy, who, I don't know where he appeared from. I don't know if they went and got him or what have you, but he came out, and he was like, "How can I help you?" And so I told him, interested in this vehicle. And we began to talk about it and all. And he was like, "You're really serious about this vehicle?" "Yeah, I'm really serious about this vehicle." So bottom line is, I bought the vehicle. And even the finance guy, for some reason, he knew what was going on. And he was like, "You know what? A lot of people are going to be really shocked when they come in tomorrow morning and this vehicle is not sitting on the showroom floor." And it's like, exactly. They're going to be totally, totally shocked. And it just blew my mind. This was what we can call a high-end luxury vehicle, but it just really, that pissed me off. It really did. And I was just like, whoa, did this just really happen to me?
Right. That's why they have them out there, so that people will buy them.
Thank you. Thank you. Because of the way that I looked, you know, I didn't have on fancy. Heck, I'm out looking at cars. I'm
Yeah.
out. It's hot.
You
I
don't
mean,
do
I'm
that.
not gonna. How do you want me to look? You know, to come in there with
Yeah.
you know, my Louis Vuitton bag and dressed. You know, no. You know, you don't judge someone by the way that they look. You never know what you know they're there for, what they can do. Don't stereotype me, because
Right.
that's what I feel that they did.
Mhm.
That's exactly what I feel that they did. And so yeah, I'm sure the next morning they were like, oh, that car is gone. Wow. Yeah, it's gone. And so that really, that just really, it didn't sit well with me. It really
Mhm.
didn't. Again, growing up military, my father was military, and I married military. Um, we were, everyone was just always together. Now, I will tell you another story. When we were growing up, we were in New Mexico, and we had to be, my siblings and I were probably, the younger ones were middle school, no, elementary. The older ones were middle school. And a lady that lived down the street from us, can't remember the exact details, but my brother was outside playing, and he ended up in her yard for whatever reason. I think the boys were playing, you know, football or what have you. And she came out yelling, and she called them a derogatory name. Um, and, you know, they came home running to my dad. And needless to say, you know, my dad went down the street and had a little talk with her. And, you know, from then on, you know, she just never acknowledged the boys anymore. But then that led to a whole nother story of, you know, my father talking to all of us regarding that situation. Because as an adult, as anyone, but as an adult, you never, you never, you never call a child or children out of their name,
Mhm.
especially, you know, that word, and we can all, the N word, you
Yeah.
know, that
Yeah.
you never do that. You
Right.
never. What gives you the right? I don't care how mad you are at someone. If she was that upset, you go to the parents and you
Mhm.
take it up with them. You know, hey, can
Yeah.
you make sure that your kids don't, you know, come in my yard, or what have you? But we're on base. Come on,
Mhm.
you know, the
Yeah.
kids are out playing football in the street. You're going
Mhm.
to end up in someone's yard. They weren't causing, you know,
Right.
any issues for anyone. But
Mhm.
anyhow,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's what I keep coming back to is it's just, you know, it's not that hard for people to just be nice to each other. I don't understand where this inability to act like a human comes from. And so the thing, the word that has come up again and again in conversations I've had is like dehumanizing. You
Mm,
know, part of the problem with racism is it's dehumanizing another person to say like you're
mhm.
less than
You're
human
less
than
than.
me.
Mhm.
And but I feel like when a person does that, when they dehumanize another person,
Mhm.
they're also dehumanizing themselves. They're
Themselves.
becoming less than human because of the way they're treating other people.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
of course they're totally unaware of that. They think that they're being superior. And you know,
Exactly.
unfortunately, my background's in behavioral science, so I'm always thinking about, you know, how people think. But a lot of
Right.
people, the only way that they can feel better about themselves is by pushing somebody else down,
And
and they
that's what
think that
that's
raises them up,
exactly.
and it
Mhm.
doesn't. But
Mhm.
you know,
Because
when
deep
we're
down inside, there's a problem with them.
right,
There's something
they're
going on
insecure.
internally with them that they're not happy with.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. And it makes them feel that they, again, are more than, and no one is more than anyone. I mean, did did God make us like that? Did he? No, we're all his children. We're all supposed to be his children,
We're
you
all
know?
in his
And
image.
his,
So,
yeah, yeah. In his eyes, we're all his children. No one is less than anyone, but that's unfortunately not how um, many people, you know,
mhm.
see it. And again, we're in 2020. We're in
Yeah.
2020. We're
Yeah.
not in
Well,
1950. We're not 1960. We're not.
I can't believe I'm just scratching my head going, how is it? And there's been some stuff like I've seen some video clips. Somebody sent me one of a white man that was tearing down Black Lives Matter signs
Mhm.
and the interaction he had with the person on that. And like, I wouldn't believe that somebody would actually say something that mean and stupid unless I had seen it. It's hard. And so that's where I think, the fact that everybody has their own camera and everyone can be their own media reporter is really good, because people can't get away with as much stuff as people used to get away with. Because now just average citizen has the camera and can post it, and everybody knows what's going on. So I think,
go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I think that helps highlight where we need to fix things.
It does. I was watching a morning show personality, and he has a college son. His son has a vehicle, and he actually, after the George Floyd thing, he actually went out and purchased a dash cam, for his son's vehicle. And he was, just alerting everyone that you can go to Best Buy and, purchase this type of equipment. Right. As soon as your son, daughter, whomever are pulled over, the dash cam automatically begins to record. And it's unfortunate that the everyday citizen has to resort to that. But we will take, for instance, the young man that was killed in Atlanta a couple of days ago, the 27-year-old who was parked in the Wendy's drive-through.
Right.
Okay, he was drunk. How many, again, no, he shouldn't have been behind the wheel. But he had fallen asleep. He had fallen asleep. How did he end up with 2 bullets in his back? The cops interrogated him for 40 minutes. 40 minutes and I think 13 seconds possibly. For 40 minutes, you had a calm, decent conversation. You had his information because you had his ID. So you knew where he lived. The first cop that arrived, I was like, oh, he was pretty cool. I think he would have allowed the young man to sleep it off. I think he may have called someone to come get this young man. He even said, my sister, I believe, lives right down the street. Let him walk, whatever. But for 40 minutes, you talked to him. So within that 40 minutes, could you not have called someone for him? Could you not have taken him home? What transpired? Because me personally, I believe, and this is just me, I believe something had to have been said to him. As you handcuffed him, that's when he took the taser, I believe. But the taser had already been fired twice, and it had been fired by the cop who fired the bullets into this man's back. As a police officer, you know that after the second time, that taser, you cannot use it. It's not going to do anything.
Well, and they knew it wasn't a gun.
And you knew it wasn't like a gun.
You go, oh, I thought he was pulling a gun.
Exactly.
Like, he knew what it was because he took it from him, and
because he took it from him.
He has my taser.
Thank you.
And so I'm just like, there's a mental disconnect going on here somewhere. And I appreciate the good work that the police officers do. And I know they have a high stress job.
Yes, of course.
And I know that there's a lot of really good ones, but there's just no excuse for that.
There was no excuse for that because he was not a threat. Again, let him run. Meet him at his house.
Yeah, he had his car.
He had a taser. He had a taser. You knew he had a taser. Who was he going to hurt? But you firing, not only was Mr. Brooks at risk, all those vehicles around was at risk. So you did not assess the situation. As a police officer, you did not do your job to the best of your ability. If you thought that was a dangerous situation, my gosh, I would hate to think, other situations that you were in. And you have the audacity to say, I got him after he was down, after you shot him twice in the back, to say, I got him. And then to find out that they stepped on his shoulders. They were holding him down. They didn't render aid for over 2 minutes to him. I just don't understand. And again, like you said, there are cops out there that are amazing, that are amazing.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate that the ones that we see in a bad light make it horrible for the good ones. That's the problem that we have, because not every cop is bad. Now, I'm not sure if you heard that last night, a lot of the officers in Atlanta were very disgruntled, I guess you could say, about Paul Howard, the district attorney, who decided to bring charges against the police officer. So a lot of them called in last night, or should I say called out. They did not report for duty. And I'm just like, wow, really? Is that
I've
how
seen that in other cities too, where, you know, people are stepping down, and to me that just makes, you know, the people who do need help out there more vulnerable.
That right? You're not
because of some
upholding
bad apples.
your oath. That's right. Yeah, you're just, oh my gosh, yeah, because you're not doing your job. If someone's life or death was hanging, you know, in the balance, and you're not going to work because of whatever, because you're mad, or I don't know. I don't know what they're.
I recently rewatched the video from a few years back of the woman who filmed when her fiance was shot during a traffic stop. And I think she Facebook live streamed it. Yeah. And her little daughter was in the back seat. And so I seen a video now where they had pieced together the dash cam from the police officer's vehicle and then her Facebook live together, you know, so you can see it all as one sequence. I was struck by how, even before anything, you know, out of the ordinary happened, the police officer seemed a little jumpy, but she was so calm.
She was so calm. Oh my
and
God.
at first, I mean, I'm just going to be totally honest and just get real. Okay. The very first time, like I heard about it, like I heard that somebody FaceTimed, I hadn't seen the video or anything. You know, I was like, why would you FaceTime, you know, when your person's bleeding out there, you know, why wouldn't you render first? You know, I was judgmental in my heart. And I'm just going to say that I don't agree with that now. And, you know, now I watched that again, and I'm so grieved that she had to do that she had to remain that calm. She was going to get shot, that she had to film that to show other people what's going on. And so when I first heard about it, you know, in my mindset, I'm like, why would you do that? But understanding the whole background behind everything, I'm like, it's so sad that she had to do that.
That she had, and you know what? Had she not done it, just who knows? When I actually, it's so weird that you mentioned that, because I was online that night, and when I saw it, I really, honestly, I thought it was a joke. I really did. I did not think. I was like, this is not happening for real. This is not. This has got to be. It's got to be a joke, you know. And I'm sitting there, and the more I see it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm really watching this man die. I'm really, and for her to be as calm as she was, but she knew she had no choice but to be calm. Had she not been calm, there's no telling what would have happened to her, you know? And
just being so respectful and saying, sir, and being very, she was trying to calm the policeman down.
Her child is in the back seat. So again, those bullets could have gone anywhere. Not just in him. They could have hit the young lady. They could have hit her child. And again, like you said, the officer, he was already, I don't know what was wrong with him. But here we're gonna say, what was he afraid of? Why was he jumpy? All you did was pull someone over. So why are you? I was trying to share the video, Liz. I don't know what I'm doing, but why do you feel afraid? Why do you feel that anytime you pull over a young, not even young, but a person of color, why do you feel that there's a threat? Sandra Bland. to this day, and I could be wrong, I don't believe that Sandra Bland committed suicide in that jail cell. I just don't. Um, I just don't. There's just too many discrepancies. There's just too many. You know, and I'm gonna be transparent. As a female, as a Black female, one of the guests mentioned it the other day. If we speak up, if we voice our opinions, if we say what we feel, we're considered an angry Black woman. But why is that? And so a lot of people, because we voice our opinions, because we speak up, because we, what some people consider mouthy, people don't like that. And we'll take with Sandra, the cop did not appreciate her saying what she had to say, which there was nothing wrong with what she had to say. I worry about that again with my daughter, because she's very, she voices her opinion. And I always tell her, you should have gone to law school instead of nursing school. But, you know, that's whatever. You know, she's been pulled over quite a few times, and we can't figure out why. You know, like, you're always getting pulled over. Yeah, she's gotten a couple of tickets, but she was, matter of fact, she was, when she was here in North Carolina, a prime example, she was at ECU. She was going to work, and she was pulled over. It was about, I don't know, 12:30 at night, and was on, you know how roads are in North Carolina. So it's dark out.
Yeah.
And she would not pull over. She saw the lights behind her, but she was trying to get to a gas station. She was like, I was not going to pull over, and I'm out in the open because I don't know what could have happened. So needless to say, by the time she got to the gas station, there were 4 cops behind her. 4. I don't know if they were highway.
I mean, even just as a woman, period, of any color, I would do that.
Exactly. Thank you. I'm not pulling over until I can get to what I consider a safe place. You know, luckily the transactions between them the communication was good. They, you know, basically, she was like, "Why are you pulling me over?" Because I know I wasn't speeding. Well, one of her lights was out. That's why he was pulling her over. And she said they were very, very nice, you know, looked at her ID, you know, hey, where are you going? You know, this time of night, what have you, whatever. And she was like, why is it 4 of you guys? You know, why is it 4?
Really necessary.
It was really not, you know, that serious, because she put on her hazards anyhow. She put her hazards on and she drove, you know, hey, I'm acknowledging that I see you. But
I've always thought if you did that and you drove slowly, then and they just followed you, that you're kind of signaling, hey, I know you're there, and I'm going to pull over when it's safe to do. Like, I thought that's how you're supposed to do that.
I thought that's how you were supposed to do. Yeah.
So it was like a day or two, I think, after George Floyd was killed. I saw a video a woman posted. I'm trying to think where I saw that. It was like on Facebook or something. But she was just doing a video from her car, and she was still, you know, shaken up from what had happened. But she was driving on the highway and was going a little slow, under the speed limit for some reason, and so other cars were passing her, and so she got pulled over, and she was just terrified. And then he said, "Get out of the car." And she was just falling apart, and she's just, you know, she was crying. She's like, "What did I do wrong? You know, I'm going under the speed limit." And he's like, I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm sorry. It's okay." He goes, "I was just checking on you because you were going slow, and I thought maybe, you know, you were incapacitated or drunk or had a health problem. And I just wanted to check on you and make sure she was okay." And so, you know, she just fell apart into fresh tears and said, you know, 1, I shouldn't have to be that scared. You know, and 2, she was just overcome with the emotion of, he was checking on me. You know, she was overcome with his genuine compassion for her.
Right.
But it's just, you know, I have the same reaction of, you shouldn't have to be scared. I mean, I've been pulled over before, and it's scary for me. I'm like a total rule follower. You know, I think the lines on the highway, like, those are like concrete. You don't cross it. Whereas my husband, you know, he's a fighter pilot, so he thinks the lines on the highway are just there as friendly suggestions for people who don't drive as well as he does. But like, I'm the rule follower, so I get pulled over and I'm like scared and sweaty, but I can't imagine that. But then also just being afraid for your life. Not knowing how is this person going to react to me personally.
That's it. That's exactly. You don't know, because and I'll say this: the young man that was killed in Atlanta. Honestly, when I watch the video, I'll go back to the first cop. He was, hey buddy, what's going on? He was so calm and cool. And again, I honestly feel like he would have just said, hey, sleep it off. Do you want me to call someone? That second cop, in my opinion, he came with attitude. He came with an agenda. I could be wrong, but I feel like he came with an agenda. And unfortunately, I feel that agenda was carried out. It was carried out, and we have a life that was lost that should not have been lost. Again, I'm not saying that Mr. Brooks should not, he should not have been behind that wheel. He should have had someone call him, hey, take me home or what have you. But again, he fell asleep. He was asleep. Let him pull over, let him sleep it off, take him home, call someone to get him. There's just so many ways that situation could have played out versus 2 bullets in the back. And, his family is now having to, plan a funeral because of what?
It was really just over like where he parked. Because if he had parked in whatever spot, probably nobody would have noticed him.
But he was in the
so it's just a matter of parking here versus parking a few feet over, which granted is not the place you're supposed to park, but that's not a crime worthy of death. But
and that's it. Bottom line, you just said it. It wasn't worthy of. It was not worthy because I don't know if I sent it to you. I may not have, but there was a guy that was pulled over by the police, and he actually and unfortunately, he was white, fighting with the police. He was able to get away from them, get into their vehicle, and drive away. And not one shot was fired. Not even at the
tires.
Exactly. Not even at the tires. I'll have to send that to you. Yeah.
I haven't seen that one.
How, and so those are the things that we look at, like, and it's unfortunate. Again, when we say Black Lives Matter, I was having the discussion online with someone that I went to high school with. She could not understand. She's like, why am I getting in trouble for saying all lives matter? And, she just went on, and still people were chiming in. And it's like, you are absolutely correct. All lives matter. But we're talking about Black lives. Black lives matter too. And unfortunately, the things that we are seeing,
we're not acting like that. As a group of people, we're not acting like it's true.
Exactly. Have you seen this? There was 5 groups of not 5 groups, but 5 young men that were walking through a park or a neighborhood the other day. The little boys, well, they were teenagers. I'm not sure of the ages. They had a BB gun. No, they should have had.
I read that article. I didn't see a video.
They threw the BB gun away, but by the time the cops got to them, the cop just immediately drew his weapon. He immediately drew his weapon, and it was just terrifying to watch this, because you have people who are filming it, telling these young men, hey, don't move. Because one of the little boys was moving around, and she's like, please, son, don't move. Please do not move. Don't give them any reason to fire that gun. And the people around kept saying, why do you have your gun out? They have no weapon. Well, of course, by then they had thrown away the BB gun, because I guess they should not have had it. But my point being is that you pulled a gun on 5 kids. Five kids, and you didn't even assess the situation. You got out the vehicle and you immediately pulled your gun. Well, anything could have happened, you know. Eventually he let the kids walk away. So with that being said, you pulled your gun and there was no arrest, there was no nothing. Why did you pull?
There was no
your
crime.
gun? There was no crime, but someone's life could have been lost, you know. The little boy that was moving around, you know, luckily the young lady that was there, she was like, please don't move, you know, please don't move. Again, we could have seen 1, 2, 3, 4 kids get shot. Again, they're children. Children do things that they're not thinking, you know, honestly, they're not thinking, and I'm sure they weren't thinking. They're just out. The kids are out of school, you know, they're out walking through the neighborhood, playing basketball, doing whatever. It's a BB gun. Well, a BB gun will get you killed. You know, unfortunately, nowadays it will get you killed. It's just it's just so much. It's just so much that should not have to be. So much that should not have to be because we all look different. I mean, because we all look different, there's a threat. There's a threat. Why is there a threat? Why? I guess that's my thing. Why? What has made society, people in society, have this fear, of Black people, people of color, not just Black people, but people of color, period. What has been instilled in them that puts that fear?
And that's their knee-jerk reaction. So the thought that keeps popping up in my head as you're saying that is that song about fear is a liar. Are you familiar with that one? Fear is a liar. So the thing that people are afraid of isn't actually true. That, you know, fear kind of comes from our spiritual enemy to divide us and to.
Fear is a liar. You're right.
I feel like as human beings and as groups of people, we're always stronger together. You know, but I think it's the enemy that wants to divide us and keep us separated.
And he's doing a good job.
Have suspicions of, you know, this one versus that one. And really, we're all on the same boat. We're all a mess. It's all hopeless without Jesus. So we're all the same.
When you said it, it's it's a spiritual thing. It's spiritually. A lot of people don't understand, and this is a different subject, so I'm going to leave it alone, but in a minute. But it's a spiritual fight. It's spiritual. It's not the flesh. It is a spiritual fight that takes over your earthly bodies, you know, and people can't see that, and we're going to stop, but we'll go on to something.
No, I totally agree with you. I think the devil is more interested in keeping us focused on being divided amongst each other so that we won't be fighting him. Which is where the battle needs to be. The real battle is not this political party versus that one, or this color of person versus that one, or this idea versus that one. It's really, you know, God versus Satan, and they're not equal.
Exactly.
And I read the book, and I know who wins.
Thank you. Even with George Floyd, this was my thought. Again, I told you I've not seen that video, but as I watch the cop kneeling on Mr. Floyd's neck, my first reaction was, that's Satan himself. That's one of his little demons. Just his whole demeanor. He was not concerned. It's like, I'm doing my job, you know? And
he was like murdering a person and he was indifferent.
Exactly. That says so much. It speaks volumes. It really, really does. If we could look into the spiritual realm, but we're gonna we're gonna leave that alone.
I agree with you on that. And I just really think, not just on this topic, but on everything, we need to just, we're so much more alike in so many ways than we're different.
Yes.
Focus on the differences, and it's just like, why? At our core, we're all just people who want the same thing: to love and to be loved, and to have a life of meaning, and to enjoy our friends and family, and to raise kids in a safe environment. You know, we all want that. That's the core, like the root of who we are and what we need and what we want and what we have to give is the same.
Exactly.
And we just focus on where we're different, and then people come all unglued and do crazy things.
Exactly. You know, I want to let me read something that, you know, I was in discussion with my son last night. We were just texting back and forth between one another, and one of the things that he said, in my, we're gonna go to the cops. He said, in my opinion, cops would have to go through the same training as, say, an FBI agent if they're going to be given deadly weapons. He said, but then again, they're killing us with nothing but a knee. So I don't know, Mom. That he said they are literally lynching Black men across the country, and in capital letters, no one is doing anything! Exclamation point. And that just broke my heart, you know. He said, I told Rhea, who's my daughter, to be careful. He said she's been walking by herself for a workout, and she needs to be careful out there. He said, I fortunately have not been subjected to a lot of racism personally, which I'm thankful for. He said, but I'm not oblivious. And I'm glad he's not, because I tell him this all the time. The majority of his, I'm going to say 98.2% of his friends are white. That's just, you know, that's how it is. And so I always tell him, you have to remember that even though they're your friends, if you guys get pulled over, if anything happens, you're not going to be treated like they are. And I hate saying that, but it is very, very true. It is very true. And so for him to say, he's thankful that he's not personally been subjected, you know, to racism, but I'm not oblivious, and I do worry. He said, but I think I fear more so for my family and my friends more than myself. That, as a mom, he said, I've had tons of anxiety lately. I'm not sure. I think the state of this country has a lot to do with it subconsciously. Your mother, who wants to hear their child, you know, say that? Who wants to hear their child say that?
What breaks my heart is this whole pull of, you want your child to be safe, and so you want to, you know, I do that all, you know, I give these warnings, you know, drive safe or do the, and you know, they kind of roll their eyes, and I'm like, I'm a mom, I have to say it.
Mom.
My mom still says it to me, you know. I'm almost,
mine too.
My mom still talks to me that way.
Be careful out there.
Yeah, exactly. But so you have that side, but then what you're having to say to your son is, people aren't going to see you the same, and this message of, you know, you're different. You don't want to ever tell your kids that, or send that message. You don't want to perpetuate that message, but you have to, for their safety. That just, you know, as a mom, that's where I just go, life, it shouldn't be this way. We need to,
and it should not, and it should not. And you're absolutely right. And you say that, and I've had to tell him that for years, you know. You have to always remember, and I hate saying this, but you have to remember, you're Black. Who honestly, should I have to say that?
Yeah.
No, I shouldn't have to say that. No. I should not have to say that.
I don't ever say that to my kids, you know. Now remember, you're different than other people, you know. I don't. These are topics that I've never had to. I mean, parenting is hard enough already, but I don't have these issues. But my eyes and my heart have really been opened up. Like I said, it's just the mom thing that I identify with most, because that's, you know, who I am and where I am right now. But
he will go on trips with his friends, who, like, they'll go to Colorado, they'll go to Vegas. They just like to get together. And, you know, when he sends me pictures, "Mm, he's the only person of color in those pictures." Well,
Mhm.
I've met the majority of his friends. Like I've flown out to Arizona, I've met them, whatever, I'm good with that. But at the same time, I always have to remind him, if something happens, you're not going to be treated like they're going to be treated. And I shouldn't have to say that.
Yeah. You
I
don't want to
shouldn't
say
have
that.
to say
You
that
shouldn't.
because he should be treated. Everybody should be treated equally. You
Mhm.
know, they're all on. He's a
Especially in
young
America.
man,
I don't
especially.
know. Yeah.
Especially, we're not in yeah, especially in
Especially,
America.
yeah, I don't, I just,
Mhm. And that's truly, it's truly sad. It's truly, truly sad because you should be able to enjoy who you enjoy, be friends with who you want to be friends with.
mhm.
Um, I had this idea, and I don't even know how to bring it to fruition. I can't remember who your guest was. I mean, we're on the fourth day, and it was either the first day or the second day. I can't remember. But I said, you know what? Wouldn't it be awesome? And I don't know, maybe it's something you can help me with. Wouldn't it be awesome to have, um, we're going to say, well, I'll just take it to the young girls, black girls and white girls.
Mhm.
Can we bring them together? Can we match them up to, like, maybe once a week, once
Mhm.
every other week, get
Yeah.
together and learn about the other one? Can
Yeah.
that I'm trying to, and this just came to my mind, in the last couple of days, and I'm like, how do I make that happen?
Right.
I think that would be, I, I don't even know what we would call it, but
Mhm.
I think that would be a good thing to do. And then
Mhm.
from there, we go to the black males and the white
Mhm.
males. And
Mhm.
maybe I'm crazy.
No, no,
Maybe
no.
I'm asking too
That's
much.
what
I
I
don't
think we just
know.
need to do life together and just
Yeah,
that just needs
thank
to be
you.
a part of
Do life together. Do life.
where we moved from in St. Louis was very mixed everywhere, and so my daughter's best friend from school lived just down the road from us, and she got invited to this friend's birthday party, and it was her family, but she was allowed to bring two friends. So my daughter was one, and their other little friend from further down the street was the other
Mhm.
one. And so they went. It's a family party, so it was longer than your standard 1 hour with the kids and the cake kind of thing. And so she came home, and I'm like, hey, how was the birthday party? What'd you guys do? And she's excited, full of sugar. And she's telling me about what they did and what they ate, and it was so great. And then she kind of stops me and she goes, but mom, and I'm like, but what? What is it? And she's like, I was the only white person there. And I said, good. You're supposed to be the only white person in the room. I said, no, that's good for you. I said, this family is giving you a gift, including them in their lives like that.
There you
And,
go.
but
Mhm.
just, you're not aware of it until you're the one that's the only one.
Mhm.
My friend
Right.
in college took me to his all black church, which was way fun. It, it was all day, but we had a
Experience.
great time. But that's, as soon as I walked in the room, I had that I'm the only one sort of feeling.
Mhm.
And,
Mhm.
that does not happen to me very often.
Right.
I think most white people don't get the gift of experiencing that.
And you just and it's an experience. It is an experience for everyone. I remember the first time I went to it was a funeral, but it was a Catholic funeral, and it was, the person who passed was white. Well, I was like, whoa, interesting, but it taught me something, and I was thankful for that. You learn from every experience. You learn from every situation that you're put in. And so, um, going back to, again, I have no idea how, to go about doing this, even just starting off small. But I
Mhm.
think that being able to learn about one another,
Yeah.
it- finding out that we are not as different as we
Mhm.
think we are.
Right.
We're not. We may do things a little differently. We may we may cook a little differently. But when I tell you, moving to the South, I have found so many white people that can cook.
Yeah.
You know that
Yeah.
we always certain people don't season their food and they don't do. No, again, we will find out that you have Black people that are like just like a certain you have white people that are like Black people that are like white people. We're all the same.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. And those differences are
we all bleed
more
the same. We all
make life
bleed the
interesting, not it's
exactly.
not a negative thing.
No,
It
no.
adds to it. Yeah.
It adds
I,
to it. You learn from that. With my personal training and my group workout classes, that is one thing I have always said that I love about my classes is that they are so diverse. We have everyone from young to old, Black, white, Filipino, um, whatever is in my class. And I think for me, I think that's what keeps my people coming back because we all just have a genuine love for one another, regardless of what we look like.
right. Yeah.
We don't even see that when
Mhm.
we are working out, and even we have little chat groups that I mean, we're all just human beings.
Yeah. Well, and you're focused on what you have in common, and the differences don't matter. Or
No,
if
not
anything,
at
they
all.
enrich the relationship. What you're
Exactly.
describing in a way, it kind of makes me think of like, back in elementary school, we used to have like a pen pal from a foreign country, and it was like to learn about somebody in another country.
There you go.
Obviously, this would, what you're
That's
describing
it.
would be a face-to-face
That's it. Yeah.
thing. But
I couldn't think of
I
the
can't help
name, but
but think of Singapore. We went and visited there once. It's a teensy tiny little island of a country, and
Mhm,
there's 3 different cultures that meet there,
mhm,
and they're all just like ultra integrated.
mhm.
You'll have a Buddhist temple and a
Yeah. Yes.
Hindu thing. They're all
Mhm.
right next to each other on the same
Yeah.
street.
Yeah.
And
I love
so I
Singapore. We
asked
got
one
to
of my
visit.
friends, I'm like, how did you guys get to be so integrated and like everybody just respects everybody else's culture and they're very different and so what? And she said that at one point in their history, they live in a lot of high-rise apartments, and
Mhm.
it was kind of forced. I don't
Of
forced may be too strong a word.
course. Mhm,
Integration rather than
mhm,
segregation. They like
mhm,
mixed up the apartment buildings, with ABC, ABC, whatever their cultures were, and they will come down from their apartments and go to the local market that's in their little area.
mhm,
Um, so the people who lived in their apartment, those are the people who were on the playground with their kids. Those are the people they went to the store with. They saw, and
mhm,
they
mhm.
just became integrated. And it's like we're different, and that's cool. And now we have this wide variety of different foods to choose from. We don't have to
There you
limit
go.
ourselves to just one type of food from one culture. But
Mhm.
I don't know how you would like actually do something like that in a country as
Yeah.
big as
Yeah.
America. And we don't live in apartments, but that concept of just doing life together, I think, is
Nope, that's it. Doing life together. I can remember when we lived in Louisiana, my neighbors, we lived up base, and my neighbors right on one side of me, well, all around, but this particular neighbor stuck out because he was, I guess you could say he was racist. We'll just put it like that. But his wife, oh my gosh, the sweetest thing ever. And their grandkid and my daughter became like best friends. So Taylor would come over and sleep at the house. It was no big deal. He slowly opened up and he became, okay with us, not necessarily everyone else, but like I would go over and visit his wife because she had become really, really ill. He would even come and knock on the door. Hey, Kay, can you come over? Friend wants to see you. And it was just, when we moved away, he and we would email things of that nature. But there was still, I could tell that there was still that underlying. I get again, we're going to call it racism,
yeah,
and I
prejudice
could.
you can let go of.
There we go. He was prejudiced. That's the word, Liz. That's
Mhm.
the word. He called me, when she passed away. Um, to him, I was okay. Wakita, she's okay. Her family is okay, but I don't know about everyone else. And
Like he viewed you as the exception. Is that?
Yep, exactly. And that's not okay.
Yeah.
It's not okay. You know, it's okay, but it's not okay. You know, and I never treated him any differently.
Mm-hmm.
You know, none of that.
So
And
he did make a little bit of progress.
he did.
But we need to make more. And I think I've
We need
said
to make
this
more.
multiple times this week, but I'm just frustrated looking at the history and where we are now of how slow our progress has been. We are making progress.
We
with each
are,
generation,
but it should be.
but
We should have more.
we need to pick up
We
the
should
pace.
be further along
Definitely.
than what we are. We should definitely be further along than what we are. We'll go back to um, exactly, Tony. But we'll go back to, I think it was Tevis. Yes, no, it might have been Tony. I can't remember. All these T's, Tawana,
Yeah.
Tawana, Tevis, and
Three
Tony.
T's.
All the
You're my
T's.
first W person.
I had to break it up. But you know, someone mentioned about passing, and it's sad, but um, our people did it because guess what? They thought that their life would be so much better. Their life would be so much better. We have a lot of people who people call mulattoes, you know, black and white, but who actually they presented themselves as Indian. So you have a lot of people who will say, "Oh, I have Indian in my family," when in actuality, no, that person was black, half white. But it was better to be an to be of Indian descent than it was to be a mulatto. So if I can, again, those of them who could pass as white,
Mm-hmm.
they did it because their life, you know, from what they felt was going to be better. I think I told you I had my grandfather's cousin. Again, my grandmother looks like you. I need a picture. Her father was white. Her father was
Yeah.
white.
If you find it, you can post it in the comments.
You know what? I will do that. I will do that. And so she would always tell us, as you know, growing up, she said, you know, I had a hard time when I was young. You know, my sister and I had to fight almost every day because we would get called little half-baked potatoes, and you know, we couldn't even get to school, you know, for someone wanting to pull on our hair and you know, do this to us and do that to us. But to get back to the story, the cousin that we thought was on my grandmother's side, which actually from my grandfather, he entered the military as a white man. Mind you, he was black. There was no, he was just fair skin.
Mm-hmm.
And he entered the military as a white man. He then married a white woman. They had children. And then those children had children. So many of us have done the DNA ancestry.
Mm-hmm.
His grandchildren have contacted my cousin and I, wanting to know why are you popping up? You know, if you how are we related? How are you popping up? You know, as a cousin of mine. You know, how is this happening?
Right.
And we've told him and we've sent pictures, and you know, he had no idea that, you know, no idea whatsoever that that was the case. You know, that he had a black grand,
Yeah, all kinds of interesting stuff pops up with that.
Lots of interesting things. Yeah, my grandmother, for instance, when I guess it was, we're back to race riots, or whatever you want to call it, in Florida, my grandfather, I remember him saying my grandmother could not come out the house because of where they lived. People presumed she was a white woman, you know, and for him, being married to a white woman, he's going to be in a lot of trouble, you know, and that's sad. That is truly, it's truly sad, truly sad. And I could barely see a comment, but I think it was Tony who said, how many times have we heard that you're different?
Yeah.
Why am I different? You know, I'm still, why am I different from Jamal? Why am I different from him? You know, what makes me different? Because of the way that we all we're all different. We have hmm, how can I say? We have people who will go. We'll take this for instance. You have white people who live in what people call trailer trash. Why do
Mhm.
you call them trailer trash? You know, um, you have black people who live in trailers. Who? Why? So we all have our prejudices. If
Mhm.
you want to,
Yeah,
put that
yeah,
out there. But
right.
again, why can't we live in peace? Why can't I? Why can't I just love you because you're Liz?
Hmm.
Why can't you just love me because I'm Wakita?
Right.
Not, oh, that, my black friend over there, my white. I, I can't, maybe I have said it. I
Hmm.
don't remember saying it. It's
Hmm.
not something that I say. It's like, oh, that's my friend.
Right. Right.
Not that's my white friend, because when
Uh-huh.
you say that's my white friend, what are you implying?
Hmm.
You shouldn't have to say that, you
Yeah.
know? That's just my friend,
Right.
Hey, Karen is my friend. Hey, Barbara is my friend. Uh,
Hmm.
we're just it again. We're it. Just so much breaks your heart. Just so
Hmm.
much breaks your heart. The young lady that was killed maybe 2 months ago, Breonna Taylor, who they had a no-knock warrant,
Hmm.
and her life was taken when it should not have been. Um, there still hasn't been any um, justice for her. There still hasn't been any punishment for the cops who executed that warrant when the warrant shouldn't have been executed because the person you were looking for was already in custody. Um, Her boyfriend, thankfully, has been the charges that were brought against him because his weapon was registered and he fired back, which rightfully so. You come into my home,
Yeah.
you didn't announce yourself as police officers. I'm going to fire. You're coming and shooting. I'm going to protect myself. So they actually arrested him, brought charges against him, but those charges have been dropped, and rightfully so. There's no way that charges, you killed his girlfriend, you killed her. I forget how many times she was shot, 8 times maybe.
Mhm.
And it was for a warrant that was wrongfully executed.
Yeah.
But yet we don't hear about what has happened to these police officers,
Right.
that murdered her.
There's the tragedy, and then there's the added layer of not doing justice by the tragedy of not calling it what it is, and not
Yeah. And I
and
think
the
that
people who are supposed to have the laws to protect you from things like that happening are the ones
who
that are
are
doing it and then not getting called out on it. And it's like
exactly.
at least three layers of frustration and wrongness that I can pick out in there.
Exactly. That's exactly. And I think that's the main, I think that's the biggest problem is that you're being victimized and then there's no justice. There's no justice. There has been so many police officers who have been exonerated for things that we know they should not have been exonerated for.
Mhm.
And so that adds to the frustration, that adds to 400 years of being it just
Mhm.
adds to so much. It adds to
Mhm.
so much because you're like, you know what? We're still not being treated as a human being.
Mhm.
We're still not being treated equally. And in 2020, 2020, think about that.
Yeah.
2020, um, we're at a place that we were how many years ago?
Mhm.
And it's really, really, really unfortunate. We wish we could just snap our fingers
I know.
and,
Well, I love
you
your
know,
idea of bringing, young people together, and let's brainstorm on that. And other people who are listening maybe can hop on and help us out. I think that's a great
exactly.
idea. But it's
Even
kind of like planting
even
something.
military community,
Yeah,
Liz, even if we can just start with,
totally.
on base, if
Right.
we, even if we can
Yeah.
just start with that, I
I,
just
I
think
think
that,
we should. I think we should do something with that. But we kind of have to wait for that to come to fruition. And I really have a lot of hope in, you know, the next and in future generations. But in terms of like here now, what do you see as a way to help or to prevent this attitude of injustice that we're talking about? What is it fixable or
I think that I think that people's hearts, I think their hearts and their minds have to want to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And so for those of us who are willing and ready and open, and when I say open, tell me what you have to say.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to openly allow that to come in and accept it and listen to it valid. Your reasons, whomever reasons will be valid. Not take offense, not pass judgment.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what we all have to do. And you doing these segments right now, that is a beginning. It honestly is a beginning. And I think someone mentioned doing a group session.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would be a good thing to do with
Mm-hmm.
people of color and non-people of color.
Mm-hmm.
To honestly and be and openly listen. Because I can tell you all day, Black life, every life matters.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not talking about every life. We're talking about the ones who are seeing injustice, the ones who are being lynched. Again, these hangings, I could be wrong, but I don't think that they are suicide. I just honestly do not think they're
Coincidence.
suicide. And so you know, to hear other people's points of views on that would be wonderful. Again, being able to listen to one another without getting upset, without passing judgment, without saying, well, this, well, that. No, I want you to listen to me. Okay.
Right.
I want you to listen. I want you to understand what I'm saying. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Not just listen to the words that are coming out of my mouth. I want you to, you know, let that resonate.
Hear
I
your
want
heart.
to
Yeah.
hear my heart. That's right. And I think that we all just need to do that. I don't know. It again, it's heartbreaking. It is truly, truly heartbreaking that um, we can't see one another for whom we are. I think your question was, one of the questions was, how would you, if you had a dream, you know? And I think that my dream would be, I have a dream that, you know, one day every human being will be treated fair and justly, not by the color of their skin, nor by a certain stereotype, um, but by their character. That one day my kids, my grandkids, my great grandkids will be afforded the opportunities that every other human being has, um, by who they are, not by their name, not by the color of their skin, not by the way that they wear their hair, not by any of that, but just by them being a human being.
Yeah.
Just by them being a human being. I mean, that's
And we
wow.
talked
Yeah,
earlier about we're all God's children. You know, God created us all. But even, you know, in addition to that, Jesus died for everybody. And I can't think of anything more expensive in the universe, you know, than the blood of God. And he used that to purchase each one of us. So who are any of us to say that person is less valuable than that one? We were all redeemed at a infinitely, I can't even imagine how costly. Every single person
every single person, and the cost that he paid. He could have said no.
Yeah.
He could have said no. No, no, no. But
He wanted to.
yeah, he
He
did.
said, not
He
my
did.
will, but yours.
He did. Not my will, but thy will be done.
And
And
that
he
was
didn't
God.
do it for this person or
Mhm.
because that person looked like that or that person. He did it for every single human being. And for those of us who say we love the Lord and we're Christians and this, that, and the other, what do you think is going to happen when Judgment Day comes, when the rapture comes? Do you think that there's going to be a black heaven and a white heaven, a new earth, a black new earth, a black new heaven?
If there was a
Really?
white heaven, Jesus wouldn't even be there because Jesus wasn't
Thank
white
you.
either.
Thank you.
We'd
Thank
be
you.
all alone.
Absolutely. What does the Bible say? What does the Bible say about it? So again, that's when I see it, and we're going to end it. But when I see pictures of white Jesus, we don't even know. Truly, if you read your Bible, his feet are what? His feet are broad. Come on,
Mhm.
Oh my gosh! But no, again, seriously, if people, how do you think you're gonna inherit the kingdom of God? How do you think you're gonna live in heaven? How do you think you're gonna live in eternity when you can't even love the person next to you because of the color of their skin? And that goes for black people and white people and Mexicans and Puerto Ricans and Filipinos, and it goes for all of us. You know, how do you think you're gonna live? How do you think you're going to be immortal? How do you think that you're going to live in eternity? How do you think you're going to live in eternity if you cannot love your neighbor?
Yeah. There's going to be all kinds of people in heaven, so we might as well get used to loving everybody now.
Do it now. He's giving you a chance to, hey, let's ease into this, because when you get to where, hopefully we all are going, well, hopefully, you don't want to be shocked.
Yeah.
But you won't be, because you won't be there if that's what's in your heart,
Yeah, and I forget which one of the little Johns it is, 1, 2, or 3, near the end of the Bible, but I think it may be First John, but where it makes loving God and loving the people sitting next to you are the same. You can't tear them apart. You can't say I love God, but I'm not so sure about these people over
because
here.
love is what?
We can't
Without love,
divide it.
you're not. Yeah, without that, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good spot to end on. We've got a little bit over time, but I really enjoyed my conversation with you. Thank you so much for showing up. And I know it takes a lot of courage to do something like this, and it does for me too. And I tell you, I was talking to somebody the other day. I'm like, video is not my thing. I don't like watching myself on video. Live video is definitely not my thing. But I did it live so that I wouldn't be tempted to go back and edit and try, because I'm a recovering perfectionist. And I'm trying to push myself out there. But I said, I finally there's an issue that is important enough to me that I said, I'm going, ready or not, here I come. I'm going to be live on Facebook because this matters to me.
It does. It absolutely matters. It absolutely matters. And thank you. Definitely thank you so much for bringing this to the forefront. Because it is something that needs to be had, and more people need to do something like this. It is, and it should be ongoing. And I think your segment, I think you said every Friday after this, you definitely continue. Definitely continue, because it's going to enlighten. It's going to enlighten so many people. So many people are going to be enlightened, and there may be things, I don't know, I may have just rambled on today. I don't know, but hopefully someone could take away just a little bit, just a little bit that will get them to thinking, because we have to examine ourselves, and that can be ugly sometimes. It can be ugly sometimes, but we really have to examine ourselves before anything else. We have to truly examine
Yeah.
ourselves. So again, I thank you for allowing me to come on, allowing the talk and continuing the talk
Yes.
because again,
Yeah.
every
Like you
voice
said, this is
matters.
just a start.
Yes, every voice matters.
Yes.
Every voice.
Yes.
So
Yeah. And
again,
let's keep in touch about the, getting children together, because
yes,
I
we
really like that
have to
idea.
do that. Yeah, we
Yeah.
definitely. Anyone else that's watching,
Yeah. Please join.
please join us.
Yes.
Please inbox or whatever to,
Uh-huh.
any ideas that you may have, because I think that would be a good thing. And it doesn't matter if it's two or three that we,
Mhm.
it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. I just think that it needs to be done. And once those two or three have been able to connect, and they can come back and they can report on, what has transpired in these 3 6 months, whatever,
Mhm.
and then we move forward. I just, I, we got to make it happen.
Yep.
We got to make it happen.
I
Yeah,
do.
make it
Agreed.
happen somehow, some way. So,
Mhm.
again, thank you so much
All right.
for
Thank you
today.
too. I hope you have
And
a blessed day.
I hope you do too. And I'll talk with you soon.
Okay. Thanks.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
Bye bye.